Thank you very much. We thank you for your perspective on how the wave of digital transformation in our societies also extends to our courts and judicial systems, and the note on the importance of citizens. After all, justice is always about citizenship and citizens. For the last speech in this track, I would like to welcome now Juan López Aguilar, Chair of LIBE Committee for the European Parliament from Brussels right now.
Hello, my name is Juan López Aguilar. I am the Chair of the Committee of Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs, which is the committee which represents the European Parliament in the Council of Ministers of Justice and Home Affairs. And it's my honor to represent the LIBE committee, that's how we call this busiest committee in the House, in this gathering hosted by the Portuguese presidency, the rotating presidency of the European Union, to whose delivery I have expressed best wishes on behalf of the members of the Committee of Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs. And I also would like to commend that you have put into the agenda a high-level conference for people-centered e-justice. That's e-justice centered in real people, in the European citizenship. It is a most important issue in which the LIBE Committee has actually put much time and energy throughout the most recent mandates of the European Parliament, in which the Lisbon Treaty and the European Charter of the Fundamental Rights of the European Union has been enforced. Precisely because the Treaty of Lisbon and the Charter of Fundamental Rights represent a major leap forward of the European project, of the European process, on the grounds that it has incorporated an area of liberty, justice and security, which is the realm, the scope of the competence of the LIBE Committee when it comes to lawmaking. That is why we have cared so much about justice. We put in place the Justice Scoreboard as an instrument, sharing with the Commission regular exchange of views on the parameters through which we can examine the state of the play of judicial developments and judicial systems across the European Union and its member states, with objective parameters in a comprehensive analysis, so that we can give account of the level of efficiency, transparency and equity of the judicial systems of the European Union. But we have also put much energy into the strategy that has been set forth by the European Commission lately, with the communication of the European Commission December 2020 as to the modernization of justice, incorporating digital tools, innovating with digital tools. And of course that poses a number of troubles, a number of problems, a number of challenges. We have talked about the pattern of digital by default, which is to give way to a radical innovating process, so that the already tested technologies can give way to emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things, e-justice, so that this horizon of coming and along and bringing about equity, transparency and caring for the fundamental rights of the European citizens is actually reflected in the strategy of modernization of justice, which is to be shared by the European Commission, funded with the European funds, taking advantage of this multi-annual financial framework on the rise, along with the Next Generation EU, which is making a high bid on green and digitalization for Europe, green digital agenda for Europe, renewing the horizon and ambitions of Europe, is also reflected in the field of judicial affairs and justice systems. That is why I think the Portuguese presidency has done the right thing in putting into this common thought and into this shared conversation issues of utmost importance. Emphasis, access to justice as a fundamental right, which is essential for the quality of rule of law. That is exactly the meaning of Article 2, which enshrines the values that once were called the Copenhagen criteria and now are the common founding constitutional values of the European Union, including rule of law, separation of powers, and of course, protection of fundamental rights of the European citizens through an independent and impartial judicial remedy for violations of the rights of the citizens, which is also enshrined as a right in itself in Article 47 of the Charter of Fundamental Rights. Then there comes also the importance of judicial cooperation, Article 81 and 82 of the Treaty of Functioning of the European Union. And on those grounds, in order to make the combination of the right, the fundamental right of access to justice through an impartial and independent judge, and judicial cooperation as a mandate in order to build up a truly believable area of liberty, justice and security, it is of the utmost importance, the so-called digital transition, digital transformation, to strengthen confidence on the rule of law throughout the innovation by the incorporation of the latest technologies, but also keeping an eye, a permanent eye on the legal protection and the right for a fair and public hearing within a reasonable time. That is the right of access to justice according to the rule of law standards. That is why we also commend the point that the Portuguese presidency has made on vulnerable people, vulnerable citizens, vulnerable adults. I was part of a high-level conference on the protection of vulnerable adults, but there's also the case of children, elderly people, persons with disabilities, victims of crimes. All of them are to be comprehended into this strategy on eJustice, which is to deal at least with the following issues: information on the rights of citizens, helping to raise awareness, information on EU law as national law, transposing EU law, information on procedures. Procedures are essential for the quality of democracy and the state of democracy and rule of law itself, information on competent authorities when it comes to relevant national laws in the framework of judicial or extrajudicial procedures, public available information pertaining to the national registers and databases, and finally, the importance of enhancing the capacity building of legal practitioners and prosecutors and magistrates, judges, not only judicial officials and judicial bodies, but also public prosecutor's office and the legal practitioners themselves, which have to be educated and well-trained and well-equipped when it comes to incorporating the latest technologies and databases, so that the eJustice strategy that has been set forth by the European Commission actually achieves the objectives that it's meant to achieve. So I can only wish well the outcome of this high-level conference that has been put into the agenda by the Portuguese presidency. I can only thank the Portuguese presidency for the accurate, far-sighted approach that has put into this field of concern and competence of the LIBE committee as the relevant committee in charge of making laws in judicial cooperation, judicial matters, as well as protecting fundamental rights, and most importantly, caring about the quality of rule of law. That is why we have been so engaged, not only in the rule of law conditionality, which was brought along with the multi-annual financial framework and the Next Generation EU as a part of a package, as you are well aware, but also as to the so-called rule of law framework, which is meant precisely as a preventive mechanism to work together in caring about the founding common values which are enshrined in Article 2 of the Treaty of the European Union, precisely to avoid the need to resort to Article 7, as we have been compelled to take initiative, and as we are expecting also respond from the European Council in both cases, which are brought to the deliberation, the consideration, and the decision by the European Council. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank all the speakers for their speeches this morning. So far, they brought reflection on several key topics we are covering in this 2 days agenda. I am sure that they will be useful for the debates today and tomorrow. And now it's time for a coffee break. During this time, everyone is free to talk to other participants in the chat or using the network tool, and also to visit the virtual exposition booths of this conference. We will be returning here live at 11:10. This is Lisbon time. For you, well, most of you will be 13:10, and for some 12:10. But we should gather all here to listen to Professor Richard Susskind speaking about online courts and the future of justice. So see you in a few minutes.